How's it going, guys? Dropfire Faith. So, Jared from Guns and Gadgets just came out with a video, and it's titled something along the lines of federal judge sides with governor, that the governor can supersede your constitutional rights, something like that. Something along those lines.
What is this garbage you're watching? I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
The gist of the video, the point of the video is that a federal judge in District 2, appointed by a politician, has decided that Governor Cuomo of New York was nowhere in the wrong or infringing upon anyone's Second Amendment right by closing down gun stores, right? First off, that judge just committed treason. Literally just committed treason, because your job is not to throw out your opinions, but it's to follow the law, right? And so the Bill of Rights, which should be the Law of Rights because it was ratified, right? But the Bill of Rights specifically states that a well-regulated militia, the right of the people to keep, or a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, right? That's what it says. This judge came out and said, no, that doesn't matter. That's null and void because of this, because of executive orders. Where in the Constitution do you find those executive orders? I haven't found them. They're not there. Didn't happen in the beginning. Came later, right? Came through corruption. Came through the, I guess, the advent of the Constitution. Maybe the Articles of Confederation, the anti-federalists who stood behind the Articles of Confederation were more right than we think now. And if you think I'm wrong, I'm not the only person who thinks this. There are plenty of people who think this. Maybe, just maybe, that's what happened. Maybe that's why there was the subversion of our freedom. Anyways, Jared goes on to explain that, people need to get up off their asses, and they need to pick up their cell phones, and they need to call politicians who lie, cheat, steal, and appoint these awful judges. And then he goes on to talk about how the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, how they themselves, only because, not for any other reason, but only because the Chief Justice is an idiot and he's got his head in his rectum or something like that. That's the only reason why those 10 Second Amendment cases were pushed off and wiped away so that they didn't have to be heard. No, what happened is it's a game, okay? So someone tell me, did Obama infringe upon your Second Amendment right? No. He threatened to. Did he actually do it, though? No. Because the way that the system is set up is they're smart enough, they're coherent enough to understand that if they had a liberal, a leftist take your Second Amendment rights, then people would rise up. But at the same time, if they have a conservative, a constitutionalist, a Republican, if they have that person in office and then they infringe upon your Second Amendment rights, you know what you do? You suck your thumb and you pat them on the back. You know who I'm talking about? This guy? The last one, apparently. So anyways, apparently if Trump does it, it's okay. Right? And you're going to say, what has Trump done? Well, Trump was the one who told the ATF about 3 years ago. Yeah, roughly 3 years ago. To redefine what a machine gun was. To re-legislate what a machine gun was. Guess what? The ATF, the BATF, they are not a legislative branch. They are hired through tax dollars to enforce, not to legislate. So the way it works is we have three branches, right? Executive, legislative, and judicial. Executive branch, what they're supposed to do is they are supposed to execute the law, enforce the law. The legislative branch, they make the laws. The judicial branch deems whether or not these laws are constitutional. They interpret the constitutionality of them, and they're supposed to use the Constitution in which to base their judgment upon. And yet, all that they do now is use previous edicts from years prior to make their decisions. Well, because someone infringed upon it before and they didn't say anything about it then and complain about it then, they take it. So we had Trump redefining what a machine gun was. And then all of a sudden the ATF starts talking again after he did that about pistol braces. They start talking about manufacturing guns at home, right? Making your own weapon, which has been legal since the dawn of this nation. And they also start talking about redefining what a firearm is. Because they got caught up with the AR, because the AR has an upper and lower receiver. In order to be a receiver, to be a registered firearm, a barrel must screw into it, and it must contain the fire control group. The lower receiver of an AR-15 technically is not a firearm because it only holds the fire control group. The upper receiver is technically not a firearm because it only has the barrel attached to it, not the fire control group. Do you see where I'm going with this? So anyways, we have all of these things happening under Trump. Everyone is still under the mindset that, take the guns first, due process second. That's not a big deal. He just said it. He doesn't stand behind red flag laws or giving the FBI whatever they need. Whatever they need. He doesn't stand behind involuntary confinement. So if you run around and you want to say, oh, these leftists, what the hell are they? If the leftists are all talk and no game, and the Republicans are no talk and all game, what does that tell you? Who's the real enemy? Well, I would say it's the conglomeration. It's the two wings of the bird that are your enemy. The government, the politicians, state and federal, they're your enemies. You look here in Texas, we have a quote-unquote Republican governor, and yet he is making compulsory mask wearing in public a thing. It's mandatory. But whenever I go to Home Depot, whenever I go to Lowe's, whenever I go to any convenience store or grocery store, whenever I go there are little pieces of paper on the doors that say, due to local city ordinances. It doesn't say anything about a law. It doesn't say anything about the state. What it says is due to local ordinances. And what this, tyrant on wheels did, what Governor Abbott did, what he did was he said that it's compulsory mask wearing, right? And any gathering of 10 or more people, he is giving, because he, for some reason, is the one who gives power, he is giving the power to mayors and city councils to restrict gatherings of 10 or more people. What's wrong with us? You want to pick a side? Why would you pick their side? If you want to be on any side, be on the side of liberty. Be on the side of freedom. Don't fall into the paradigm. Don't pick the shiniest of the two turds between the left and the right. There's no difference between them other than the name and the bullshit that they say on TV. There's no difference. I'm telling you right now, guys, you've done it. You have done it. And I don't mean any one individual person. I mean all of y'all have done it. Whenever you fall into the partisan game, quit. Because like I've said a million times, just like with the TAPS Act, just like with the Patriot Act, just like with the Freedom Act, you know what all of these things were? Bipartisan. That means that both parties came together and restricted the fuck out of you. They turned you into a terrorist, a domestic terrorist. They coined the word terrorism, terrorists. They're coming for us. Oh, here they are. Look out. And then all of a sudden that boogeyman's gone. And then the next boogeyman is the person who sits in their house and espouses a different belief than them up there on their shiny little fucking throne. They're little kings on little hills. Under a big king on a big hill. Under an even bigger king. Under a bigger hill. There are layers. It's not just this country versus this country. That's a game. That is political theater. That is the world stage. And if you want to be a part of performing on that world stage, then what do I have to say to you? The preamble of the U.S. Constitution, not the preamble of the Bill of Rights, because I'm a huge fan of that one. But the preamble of the Constitution, we the people in order to form a more perfect union, right? What did they say that they ordained it for? They ordained it for posterity, for future generations, for their children and their children's children and their children's 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 children. It never stopped. But as far as I'm concerned, the left and the right have shredded the Constitution. They have shredded the Bill of Rights. They have shredded the Declaration of Independence. And just like Revolting Man said, happy last 4th? Because we're there. We're at that point. Look at the blade on a knife, right? It comes to a fine point. We are walking on that fine point. One misstep and we will be split. We have already fractured, but the complete severing of our world, of our nation, of our states, of our families, it's all going to be gone. And it's all because everyone wanted to pick the shiniest of two turds. Live free. Die on your feet, not on your knees.
It's an elephant heavy. I'm coming back, baby.
Gets up.